load this system up. And it looks indeed like a very naval planet. So this was custom made by Matiz just now. Very interesting. And so much to talk about. We'll wait till the players spawn in, do an intro and start talking about everything. Because everything will be a little bit slow early on as they start moving out. But there'll also be some very fast moments with early air raiding that are incredibly important for dictating the outcome of this game. But really interesting to see this. I think in general in chat, a lot of people want to see Matiz dethroned. A lot of people are screaming for Team Clopse. I think a lot of people just want to see Matiz lose. He's been winning far too much at the moment.
Would be nice to see a new king, to say the least.
Yeah, there's a lot of metal on this planet as well, and a lot of people very excited for the naval. So am I. When you see the top players play naval, there is just so much to be doing. The game is about to start. Hello and welcome everybody to the fourth game in King of the Planet number 8 as Challenger Clopse takes on Matizpl. This is presented by exosesports.com. I'm ZaphodX and I'm here with Marshall.
Hello there, folks.
And it's pretty exciting to see a naval planet chosen by Matiz of all people. He favours his macro-y kind of land moons. So he's actually gone for naval because he lost the last game. Good luck, have fun, gets chucked out by Clopse. And the players will begin. Interestingly here, Matiz has started with a naval factory. I guess he wants to get out these slightly safer fabbers there so that he can get them out early on. If you choose air fabbers early on, it's very easy for a fighter to come over, kill those early air fabbers and get a huge loss for you, whereas it takes a lot longer to get a bomber over there and take out a naval ship.
Air factory gone up from Clopse as well. Now, interestingly, there aren't too many islands, and the islands there are do not actually sport all that much metal at all compared to the water, so I don't think we're going to see any occupations of the islands here. But certainly there's going to be a lot of boats heading between these bases. But the thing is, with Clopse's air build, Matiz can bring out a couple of narwhals and neutralise the early stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. 2 of those islands have 4 metal on, but that's basically it. It's going to be a big war over all this metal around the water. There's some pretty dense areas as well, particularly towards the south near Clopse. I think Matiz has a little bit of the worst of it. He's definitely got to expand and start taking these areas. If Clopse can move towards the south, there's a very nice area at the South Pole for him to control. And interestingly, with naval maps, it's going to be very important, and this is really important right now as we see Clopse actually moving northwards in towards Matiz. He has to scout on the outskirts of his base, bomber coming in, and all he needs to do here is see this engineer as he comes through. He manages to successfully drop a bomb, gets a little bit of fire in there from the commander, but successfully takes down the engineer. Coming in for another strike, he goes against the commander, definitely the wrong choice, needs to refuel, come back in and take care of this naval fabber here as the naval fabber moves back in towards the commander.
Unfortunately, the narwhal is now completed, and the naval fabber just gets saved there. Another bumblebee coming in, does damage to the narwhal. Does it take it down? No, only leaves it on half health. He does survive, however. I was just looking at the map there a second ago, and I'm realizing it's actually quite a large map.
He manages to drop a single missile out of his flurry of 6 or so that he could do. He managed to refuel just enough, and that was enough to take out one of those naval fabbers. So 2 naval fabbers down for the cost of 2 bombers. Great little confrontation, has slowed down Matiz quite a bit there. But Clopse in this situation still needs to expand his own eco, because you can see he hasn't done anything, just concentrating on building right now as he sends in another bomber, trying to do more damage. Narwhal here desperately trying to cover the forces for Matiz. In it comes. Down goes another air fabber, and that bomber is still okay on half health. He can come in for another pass. Not looking too good for Matiz as he starts to get out his own fighters now. Oh, another hit goes down, and very lucky, nice micro there for Matiz. He just manages to save it from the bombing route there, and Narwhal takes care of the bomber. More bombers coming forwards. A couple of fighters could be moving forwards as well.
Yeah, Hummingbird's coming out from Matiz now to defend as well, because obviously the Narwhal is not quite cutting it for him. He does take out the Firefly as well. But back in Clopse's base, he is beginning to expand just a smidgen. I've forgotten to put on my caps lock, but there's not all that much queued up, even from his commander. He's got his commander on energy, but he's content with 3 factories at the moment. What do you think of that?
Well, I think he really needs to start expanding this. He's currently sitting on 45 metal to 65 from Matiz, and he's just going to go for the all-out aggression here as we see 4 bombers moving forwards, 2 fighters with them. In they come. What are they going to target? They have no intel right now. and in they come. That was a really wasted attack there. All they do is drop 2 sets of bombs on that air factory, do very little indeed, don't take out either of those engineers, and he's just going to start falling behind in terms of how much he has, because Matiz here already a little bit sorted. He has 1 more power gen and a little bit more metal. So even though Matiz has really been losing left, right and centre here, he's actually in an okay situation in terms of eco, and he's managed to get one of these proxy air fabbers to move out and start building some metal well far away from his base, somewhere you wouldn't expect. And this is the reason why you should always send fighters around and do a whole load of scouting, because if you can take up an air fabber, it's a nice easy win that can really do a huge amount of long-term damage to a player.
Yeah, I think Clopse definitely is really far behind as far as expanding is concerned, though he does have reasonable proximal metal towards him, whereas Matiz over there is trying to play a safe game and sort of get out of the way of where Clopse's planes are actually going to be going to try and get snipes on those naval fabbers. But there's a significant force of hummingbirds there now just to be able to get rid of these bumblebees.
Clopse coming in for another attack, takes out another fabber. Oh no, he doesn't take it out actually. I think that one must have just about got away. It did get away. He did take out 1 fabber earlier, which was very important. It was one that invested a whole load of time coming down to get the metal towards the south, so it wasted a lot of time coming all the way over there. He did manage to take it out. The narwhal is on its last legs. It just managed to survive the last bombing run. At the moment, winning it back for Matiz. He leads 110 metal to 80 metal, doing very well for himself.
And the T2 Navy. Wow. And T2 Navy against Clopse's 3 factories. He still isn't producing more. He needs to be producing more. And Matiz getting some scouts on Clopse's expanding forces as well. So he's going to be able to do something with that. Did I miss something there?
Yeah, there was another little bombing raid from Clopse, and nice micro from Matiz, but unfortunately he doesn't quite save that engineer. So another engineer has wasted 15 seconds or so to drive all the way down here towards this metal part and then been destroyed before it can start building metal. That's a huge amount of time because those naval units do move slowly. So really big wins. Those are particularly valuable engineers, ones that have invested a lot of time travelling to their area, as we see 2 more doing that along the right and to the south of Matiz's base, desperately trying to go in there and start increasing his metal income. We see Clopse's income now beginning to increase actually, as he starts sending out some air fabbers and some naval fabbers of his own. Recon coming in for Matiz, seeing what's about. A couple of fighters coming in to try and to stop them there, and they do stop them. Loads of air factories being planned by Clopse. It looks like he's going to go heavy on air. I definitely think that's a strong move. A lot of team on air early on is going to be particularly powerful.
Yeah, Matiz did manage to get the scout on that extra air factory going up from the commander as well. Clopse still has no intel of this expanding for air fabber, though he does have one of his own which has gone to the land, which is a slightly safer bet against Navy, especially given it's so far out of the way. But Matiz now expanding in 5 places at once. I say 5, I actually meant 4. I can't really count today for some reason, but that significantly outdoes Clopse, who's sort of stopped expanding for the time being.
Yeah, doing very good. 2 naval fabbers expanding, 2 air fabbers expanding as well, and just doing a great job of expanding in multiple areas. You may lose 1, you may lose 2, but you're still going to have loads of redundant ones there ready to give you even more inco. So great work with the macro game from Matiz. He leads 190 to 150.
Orbital launchers queued from Clopse. What? Something interesting going on there after cancelling 2 tier 2 naval factories, going for an air factory, and then 2 orbital launchers queued. Interesting plays.
Yeah, very interesting.
What do you think he may do with that?
Who knows? I don't know what these players are going to do with orbital. Personally, the only thing I can see really working is air fabbers and some anchors. I think could be very powerful, particularly against Matiz, who he won't even know what's happening.
Yeah, as we saw in last week's King of the Planet when Brad popped up a anchor over Matiz's base. He's like, wait, what? He got really thrown off.
Nice work defending the bombers with the micro here from Clopse, keeping his fighters in front of them. Maybe trapped in behind. He loses one of those bombers, however. And now going to fly straight in over the main base to see what he can see.
Hasn't seen the T2 Navy yet. That is significant, because he can't answer to it if he doesn't know it exists.
Great move, having that narwhal moving forwards, having naval forces in the right position can really help you. Another narwhal moving forwards, great play from Clopse, moving towards the area to the left of Matiz's base where he's killed so many engineers. If he has that up there waiting, that's a great move to stop any further expansion there. Looks like he's got bombers which are now targeting up on this engineer that was expanding directly towards the south of Matiz's base. Down it goes down, takes care of both of those engineers. Great work before they can get the anti-air up as well. And now those bombers have free reign actually to try and take down this naval factory. Doing great work on the harassment now for Clopse as he takes a slight lead, 210 to 190 medal. Doing great work for Clopse right now.
Yeah, and interestingly, Matiz now has got naval factories springing up all over this planet. It's quite interesting to see what he's doing. He's got so many different naval factories and proxy bases going on, but Clopse so heavy on air. So heavy on air.
Yeah, very hard to micro them all. In fact, if we look at the South Pole, that very, very dense area of metal that I pointed out before, it looks like an air fabber from Clopse had been killed there, and an air fabber here now building a naval factory for Matiz gives him a real important foothold at one of the most important strategic points of this map. But looking at all the air units coming straight in at Matiz's main base, the air factory has now been seen by Clopse, and if he sent in the bombers in the right location here, he could take out so many of these air fabbers. Stingray
goes
A
down.
huge amount of damage and goes down. He loses almost all of his bombers there. Narwhal's still putting in more damage on those bombers. Narwhal goes down as well. Got one bomber left. But taking out that Stingray is actually a huge win because the Stingray is incredibly good at taking out air units and currently now building a battleship. Not
he needs
getting
to go
out
back in and take out that T2 Fabber. He needs to take out that T2 Fabber as soon as he sees it. I think he's about to scout it, but there aren't any bombers left in that group. Here come a couple.
From behind, however, in come the fighters to take care of them. In come the bombers. The bombers are actually going at the T1 engineers. They take care of 3, 4 there. However, they missed the T2 engineer. As you say,
second
that would have been
pass.
the most juicy target.
That's going to take out a lot of fabbers there. 4 go down. And a little bit of injury.
T2 saves though. T2 gets saved for now. Very important to try and keep that alive. It takes a long time to build it and it's a huge amount of wasted time. Lots more bombers also coming in. Still a ton of fighters in terms of air superiority and getting out more air factories now from Matiz, desperately trying to catch up. I think really all he needs is a whole load of Stingrays. Great work from this Narwhal, actually managing to put harassment on and do a bit of damage to those power gens. And currently just maintaining a big ball at the moment. For
that
Clopse.
Leviathan is now complete. That's going to have some really significant impact on these narwhals, but I don't think it has anti-air cannons. I think that's the Stingray's job.
Yeah, I don't think it does. If it does, they're not very good. But no radar actually up in Matiz's base right now, so you can't see that narwhal on the outskirts. That's a bit unfortunate for him. So his main base looking getting very heavy on the air defense, which is what he needs to do right now. Getting up a whole load more air factories as well. 4 engineers building that. Looking at the eco, leading 270 to 230 at the moment in favour of Matiz. All of his expansions around the planet working out very well for him. But you can see a lot of idle factories here as well. Too much micro to try and deal with them all. Great work, however, at the South Pole as Clopse actually shuts down this area, destroys the factory, destroys the mechs that were being built, and hopefully can see this other area, which I don't think he has seen yet. To try and clear that up, but beginning to win it back as they both now sit at 250 medals, so very even between the players, but slight power lead in terms of Matiz.
Yeah, I must admit, I love the way these bumblebees sort of seem to sort of make fireworky type things when the bombs float off the water. It just looks pretty good. But as going away from visual effects for a second there, back in the main base, I kind of think Clopse has forced Matiz to turtle to a degree, because his expansions have only got, you know, the odd 1 or 2 naval factories at most, and popping up anti-air everywhere. That's a lot of metal he's investing in air defense for not all that much offense. I mean, yes, you've got a Stingray or 2 and a Leviathan out, but they've got a long way to go against a significant air force there now from Clopse.
Yeah, I think in this situation it'd actually be a great idea for Clopse to maintain map control and just destroy everything else. He has an insanely huge swarm of T1 bombers. This is literally enough to take out a commander here. He won't get that close, but he's sending them all in. A whole load of fighters coming in from the left-hand side as well. A lot of forces are not grouped up actually for Matiz, which means he will lose a lot of them. Bombers coming in first, though. Loses a couple of bombers in that first strike. Needs to send in those fighters first. And there's 2 Stingrays that have now been built, and a third one on the way with 5 engineers.
Yeah, this is going to be a slaughter for Clopse. There's so much flak in there as well. Will he take down the T2 naval factory?
Oh,
not quite.
No, he loses everything. So little damage done to that factory. And really, that was a huge loss. He could have been going for the Stingrays.
The T2 Fabber stays alive as well, so not even that was damaged either. So
that's an enormous loss. That's like sending in 40 tanks into turrets and walls and getting almost no wins there, really.
Yeah, that was significantly disheartening, I suspect, for Clopse, though he can still raid expansions, though there are the anti-air turrets going up because he hasn't sort of raided them all. He might get off these two fabbers over here to the west as he goes past and scouts them. Will he come back? No, the air is coming in to intercept, though, from Matiz and or to defend. Doesn't look as though they're going to make chase, but Clopse now has got an orbital fabricator.
Yeah, we have an orbital fabricator up there, and second orbital factory is also going up. We'll see what he does with that. I definitely think moving forwards and building anchors would be a horrendous pain, which would be really awkward for Matiz, considering he doesn't have the orbital radar out yet, and he's unlikely to build it unless he does actually scout some orbital coming in from Clopse. But it's such a pity for Clopse. That attack did not go well for him. If he'd have raided all around the outskirts of the map, he would have been able to destroy everything. There would have been no recourse really for Matiz. And he would have impacted the eco so much, it would have put him really far ahead. That fabricator now moving forwards, it's almost reached its current destination. Needs to give it another command, move forwards. A lot of fighters now moving out, so much fighter forces being built by Matiz and more air factories planned. Narwhal here, this hero Narwhal, MVP, has just really managed to put so much harassment on Matiz and actually stopped him expanding in that direction. Now Matiz splitting his forces into two groups of fighters, a lot of them moving in, trying to defend. All these bombers come over, a whole load of anti-air, they're actually coming over from Clopse here as he moves in towards this swarm of fighters.
That's a lot of fighters.
Units. Loses at least 2 or 3 of the bombers, 4 of the bombers there, and Clopse is going to pull back for now. Definitely needs more fighters. He needs to change up his build queues here.
This is really a crucial point of the game, I feel, because Matiz still has that T2 naval, and he's going up for a second one with a T2 fabricator, so that's going to go up really fast. Plus, he has all of those air factories completely dedicated to hummingbirds. Whereas Clopse is trying to get out his T2 naval, he's just about to. I think that's the crucial bit for him. If he didn't have that, he would be really on the back foot, because he needs to have something to counter these battleships, because at this point in the game he really doesn't. And
in they come now, 3 Stingrays right beside them as well, so that's some excellent anti-air support. If we have a look down at Clopse's base, he's actually not assisting his factory, but he has started a Leviathan as well. He desperately needs to get that battleship up and assist that factory. Also, getting out some anchors at this point would be brilliant, because that would really defend against these naval forces that are now moving forwards for Matiz, and Matiz beginning to get back in it as he leads now 480 to 340 medal. He's suddenly managed to take it back.
Fight on the South Pole, so many bombers. Oh, fighters grouping up from Matiz as well. Oh wow. Yeah. I think Matiz took more losses than he needed to there, but even so, all of those bombers, youch.
Definitely needs more fighters in his mix at the moment. Definitely needs to queue up with these orbital, but he's losing so much eco. Matiz is increasing it so quickly. Down go a whole load more bombers. They've managed to get away for now. Everything's a little less squishy than it was. There's a bit more opportunity for backing off in these situations.
And Matiz has scouted the orbital. Matiz has scouted the orbital there.
He has, and we'll see what Matiz does. It'll probably be an immediate response to that, as currently his expansions all over the place still seem to be doing absolutely fine. Clopse hasn't been expanding anymore, so he's really beginning to lose ground here. Sends in more of his fighters, and his bombers go down, and just exchanging fire with all of these fighters as those Stingrays now move forwards, beginning to take some damage in on these outer mechs, and give him further air support if he wants to move forwards. Battleship also doing good work.
They're about to get range of that T2 naval. The T2 naval factory has come under siege by those Stingrays. Moving away now, however. But did you say orbital Whoa, yes there is.
Yeah, he's building an orbital factory, which is a really unusual choice. Having a look at Matiz's point of view, what's Matiz building here? Has he got his... he still doesn't have vision. He still doesn't have orbital radar out yet.
But he does have that advanced radar, which means that his Stingrays and Leviathans can just use their maximum range potential there. I thought that advanced radar could see orbital. Apparently not.
Ooh.
Yes, it can. He does have radar blips in orbit.
Oh, I see. But he doesn't know what they are.
Yeah. But even so, you see radar blips in orbit, you want to do something about it, at least in lieu of any potential incursion.
We actually see a second T2 naval factory out for Matiz and a third one planned as well. One of the Stingrays does get taken out by the Leviathan from Clopse, so good play there, managing to keep it at range. Desperately just needs to get out a few more. It looks like he's going for the advanced fabrication ship, so he can have access to the T2 Eco, currently trailing 300 metal to almost 600, so huge discrepancy right now. It's really just running away with him. As soon as Matiz starts getting his build up, you can see he's gone for so much T2 power and he's built up the T2 metal in his base as well, and he's really beginning to start cooking on gas here, whereas Clopse is just currently stalling right now, not really getting anywhere, not making any new mechs, not increasing his eco nearly quick enough.
Over to the west, a large clump of orcas have seen this T2 naval factory and are going to stop it if they manage to take out the fabricators. A couple of hits go down, those fabricators go down, that T2 naval factory is not going to get completed at this point in the game. I feel that's probably a really good move from Clopse there, although there are now 3 in Matiz's main base, plus an orbital launcher of his own.
Yeah, it's a good thing, but really it's not going to help enough at this stage. So many air units as well from Matiz. I think he could start affording to even put a couple of bombers in there, and those bombers right now would be able to take care of those orcas without taking any losses at the moment. Stingray's just poking in at him. A couple more of those T2 naval are now coming in. The battleships, they really... half of these... orcas here are actually already taken out by a single battleship that just pounded them for quite a while, and I think they're going to get taken out here with no losses. Moving
More
forward
bombers.
with all those fighters very desperately for Matiz in a very dense little pack here. Takes care of a couple of those bombers, still outnumbers the fighters at the moment, so doing very well in terms of the air game.
Yeah, he doesn't want to get too close to Clopse's base though with those fighters, so as long as Clopse's bombers are inside his base, they are at least defended until Matiz realises there's really not all that much AA in his base other than all of those air factories. I'm just looking at the army tab there to see how many factories we have. They're actually equal on factories. Wow.
That is interesting. Different mix though. We actually see, is this not more orbital units now? We see Avengers coming up for Matiz. He's got 2 engineers assisting that, working on a orbital fabber now. But I still think he doesn't have vision yet. Have vision?
I don't think he has vision, but he has certainly got radar of those little plops. If you move just to the side of where they actually are, you can see them hovering out there in the orbital there.
All of those fighters now moving forwards from Matiz and taking out huge swathes. There's very little left for Clopse right now. He needs some narwhals to actually defend against the air, because they're going to do better than the orcas right now as the orcas begin to get pounded a little bit at range from one of those Stingrays.
Yeah, and even the naval factory's taking a couple of hits there at good Stingray there. But, I mean, even T2 naval doesn't do very much damage to buildings. They're like brick walls, these things now.
Agreed. We see advanced radar satellite coming out of that orbital factory already, about 60% of the way through, doing pretty well. Big
Anchor's
flyby coming
out.
over, a couple of T1 bombers in the mix as well, and they're going to come in against this battleship, and in come those T1 bombers. I think there's only about 5 or 6 of them. They actually take it out pretty quickly there. Down it goes. Good work now from Matiz. He can put a lot of pressure on, going back to the eco tab. Clopse has managed to catch up out of nowhere as he currently trails 570 to 670 medals, so not far behind at all. We're being put under a lot of pressure in terms of army. If we look at the army tab, we actually see 300k in terms of medal for Matiz and under 190.
Here comes another
Clopse.
flyby. That's going to be a lot of interesting dogfight and losses, because there's a lot of bombers mixed in there. I think Matiz is going to come out worse in this engagement, bringing in even more reinforcements. But I take that back. Matiz still has a rather large number of hummingbirds. They're just all clumped together still, but sat over the base, not doing very much.
Yeah, they just come together. He has so many forces. I really would be getting narwhals out, but now this is it. He may be able to deal with this threat, but with the T2 naval coming in, there's such a huge amount of forces coming through here. We see multiple Leviathans backed up by Stingrays, still got air support in terms of Matiz, and he's going to push hard, and I'm not sure if Clopse will actually be able to stop this. He's only trailing 600 metal to 700, but trailing power 40k to 80.
Yeah, I mean, looking from the horizon now, I think Clopse will probably be able to realise he has not got anything that can deal with this fleet that's coming in. He doesn't have this adequate number of bombers to counter Matiz's anti-air supply there.
Does have his advanced radar out, so he can actually see everything right now. Sending in a couple of bombers. Power problems, however, not working out well for him in terms of his vision radius as he gets taken care of by some of those stingrays as he gets close. Just going to keep moving forwards for Matiz here. At the South Pole, Clopse has done great work, managing to take care of all this metal, actually being harassed by all these narwhals at the south from Matiz, so that's a really big win, taking care of that metal, putting Clopse way back where he was. And T2 Factory now gets taken out by Leviathan Fire.
Yeah, I reckon we'll see the GGs called very shortly indeed, because once that T2 Factory goes down, there's really nothing Clopse can do. He hasn't got an air presence any longer, he cannot deal with the T2 Navy, and he doesn't really have enough of an orbital presence either to do anything against Matiz. And here come the bombers now, doing damage to that commander.
Yep, T1 bombers coming straight into the commander. What have we got here? Building up a Hulkins, interesting choice from Clopse. It's the only thing that has enough range now to take on naval forces. T1 bombers coming out, but it's not going to do any good. Having a look at the commander, below 50% now. These T1 bombers are just going to focus it down. Commander probably hitting most of these fighters as well. Commander now falling below 25%, and great work from Matiz. He manages to take the win there from good macro play and consistent aggression.
GG.
These get called.
Hello there, Clopse.
Hi.
And talk about that game. How'd it go for you?
I thought I was way ahead at the beginning, and then I'm not so sure.
Yeah, Matiz had a couple of airfabbers that just kept expanding and expanding.
Yeah, I know. I thought I had really good air control, and then he just turned it around all of a sudden and kind of surprised me. But I've practiced a couple of games in water, and I couldn't bomb the commander in the maps I tried. So I didn't think. I thought if that was an option, I would have. Obviously, I think I would have won that game, no problem.
You can do it. Maybe you just had super deep water in the time you were doing it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, looking at this planet, it's a scales 0 height range by the look of it. There's no deep water here.
Because I think at one stage I sent 60 bombers to their deaths. I think I was going for the T2 Factory, but it has a lot more HP than I thought. But they would have easily killed his commander, I think.
Because the water only goes up to the commander's ankles, rather than sitting below it.
Yeah, I didn't realize. That's my bad. But that's okay. He played well. I didn't think I'd win a macro game, but I think I felt like I was doing okay.
He did some great harassment early on. He just he managed to recover and keep up his macro game. He had great expansion. Unfortunately, if you'd there was one point when you sent in a huge swathe of like 40 bombers and pretty much to their death trying to take out a T2 naval factory.
Yeah, I think that was the turning point that game. They could have killed the commander, I think. So it was bad play by me.
I think you had just enough to kill the commander, but really I would have gone for raiding. If you'd have raided the outskirts of the map, he would have lost so much eco. You would have had it in the bag.
Yeah, I actually thought I was raiding everywhere, but I missed a few expanding purposes. It's quite a big map to take control of the whole thing, though. I think.
So a lot of people in Twitch chat are wondering whether you're going to do a comboxing to finish it off.
No, I think I'm not sure. I haven't even decided what map I'm going to do yet. I don't know. I'm just going to quick look now.
What do you think to orbital maps, Clopse?
No, I don't think it'll suit either of us. I don't know it too well, and it doesn't suit my gameplay. I'm more of a rushing kind of guy, so orbital shouldn't come into effect into my games, I don't think.
Alright, well, we will leave you to choose the final game, and we'll speak to Matiz. Good luck.
Okay.
Welcome, Matiz. You closed that game out to keep it interesting for all the viewers as we now sit drawn 2-2. Do you want to talk about that game a little bit?
Yeah, well, so the idea was that I'm better at macro than Clopse, so I would put the hugest map possible. It was like almost 1050, which is like the limit for the map. So I figured that he would not expand too much, so I just decided that I would expand a lot and defend his air with my tier 2 naval, but apparently it also got nerfed, so bombers are extremely good right now. So I did not expect that, but well, as predicted, I expanded just much more and eventually won the game. he was kind of stubborn with his bombers if he used them to deny my harass, deny my expansions, or I don't know what else. But he just didn't play the macro game, and then I just ran over him with a superior economy, and well, that was the idea, and it worked. I wasn't expecting such a strong. I had no idea that bombers are so good, but apparently they are, so I might have to use them much more.
Yeah, T1 bombers are pretty strong.
Yeah, and I put 200 metal spots on this map. I'm not sure whether I could put more or not, but the idea was to make the map as big as possible with a lot of expansions, and then I would eventually, with my macro, I would overrun him with economy.
Well, we're going into the final game here. If you want to prepare yourself, Clopse is just preparing.